Cormier. I don't know if you know who he is, but
yeah, of course.
Okay, I don't know how like young you are, but like.
Oh, I pay attention to to everything. Yeah.
I was like, he would do this pose where he would go like that, and you would see the core, and I'm like, man, it looks so good.
Wesley has that great right now.
Wesley Visitors?
Yeah, unfortunately, like his legs aren't big overall.
Kind of like he's a taller guy, so it's
yeah. But his sartoriuses, if you ever like pay attention to it, they're just like absolute monsters.
Yeah.
Where'd you have him? I saw that you made predictions, but I didn't see where you had people.
Second.
You got him in second?
I have it impossible to beat, what's his name, Mike Sommerfeld.
He's just so good.
I don't even think it's fair. Like, I actually don't think that they should allow him in classic physique.
Right.
I actually don't even think he makes the height class. I don't know how he can weigh that and have that much muscle for his height.
Every time I look at him, I just take a look and I say, are you playing? Are you playing saying that he's making weight?
I don't understand. Like, is he go on his toes?
Yeah,
he's a cool hairstyle that
he's an open bodybuilder on a classic physique stage,
Yeah.
but no doubt about it, he's amazing. Like,
yeah, it's funny, I competed against him and Urs.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
They both beat me by a lot. But
I didn't know.
Urs was his first pro show, and I'm like, and he's like quite tall. I'm like, how far under the weight cap are you? Because I was like, I barely made weight. He's like 20 pounds under. I was like, I'm in the wrong category.
There are some of the people that I coach as clients. I'm like, I get with them, we do posing together and stuff, and they look like as good as me, and they're like 30 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
I'm like, his shape is just everything.
I keep fighting to make classic physique light. I want the IFBB to like add another division.
Like make it almost somewhere between.
20 pounds lighter than what it is. Like way lighter.
You'd get some decent naturals in there if you were to do that.
If they, I think I wouldn't have gone on gear if they would have had categories for natural guys.
Right.
Like I was winning back in the day. You would win nationals, no natty pro card, no you could turn pro natural.
Yeah.
Now they can. So when I was winning nationals and all these whatever shows I was doing, no pro card, I'd be like, hey guys, I just won nationals. Yeah, but you won the like drug tested one, doesn't count. I'm like, it's harder to win that one because you can't use drugs.
Right.
You're like, yeah, but you didn't really win. I'm like, all right, I'll win the next one with drugs. And so that's what happened.
You didn't start taking until 32, was it?
Yeah, early 30s, 2009. I went to the nationals and I went from being like, I did a posing video when I was natural, and then I did like another one like 2 months later. I'm like, I did a natty or not on myself. I'm like, this is suspicious. I was like 2 months later and I went from like being decently lean to like shredded and 8 pounds bigger. It was like, it was pretty obvious.
It doesn't happen when you're in your early 30s.
No, because I had basically tapped out my natural, like, I trained a whole year and I think I put on like 1 pound of muscle, being like meticulous on everything, and I was like, yeah, this is it for me now. I started training at 10.
So you were like even lifting weights at 10?
Seriously, like hard lifting at 10.
Really?
Like, yeah, weeder program, sets of 6 to failure from the get-go.
Yeah.
Full body 3 days a week. My twin brother and I did that, and then my dad, he got injured. Tore like some arm thing.
Right.
And then he's like, yeah, you guys can't lift because like you need supervision. So I just did it when I go home from school. They were school teachers. I'm like, well, they're not coming home for another hour and a half, so they'll never know.
Yeah.
So I started lifting like that.
That's crazy to me because like everything that I did in the gym or anything gym related was all just for soccer.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, I'd do squats and like deadlifts here and there, but it was like, I didn't start really like lifting till I was 21, 22.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see all these other people. I'm like, that's so cool. Like I would have loved to like start when I was a lot younger and just kind of see what it would have looked like where, like obviously like you got your cap, you can't go beyond too much, but it's like, would I have been where I am right now by like 22 or 23? If I'd started,
you just get it faster. Like I feel like I spread out my gains. Like say I started lifting weights at 20, I'd have the same physique now.
Right.
It's just they were stretched out over a longer period of time. Same with doing triathlons, because I rode so much bikes, run, swim. My muscle growth was so like slow.
Okay.
Because like think of the cardio I'm doing. Then I'm like, okay, I really want to do bodybuilding, and then so I gave up all that, and then all of a sudden I had like another growth spurt right after that.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, now I can't cut out cardio, I can't do this, what can I do? And I'm like, drugs, that's what I did. And I weighed, like I was 192, 193 in the morning. A year ago I was at my smallest, but I had pneumonia and whatnot, got off turf. Which you didn't really benefit from. It's too bad, but
I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
I'm sorry.
I was hoping it would work for you. But
I was hoping. Like, that's the thing. Like people are like, oh well, are you just gonna hate on it for? I'm like, Dude, if I could get some additional boost of something, like, I'll take it.
It's like when Will Tennyson was using, I was like, please let it work for this guy, because like if it doesn't work, it's gonna suck. Like, right. He's not gonna lie and say it's like doing something. But,
yeah. No, and that's
for me,
the thing.
it's amazing.
I'm one of those people where it's like, yeah, I get it. It's like we don't have like a ton of literature on the specific one that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you feel a legitimate boost from it and you enjoy taking it, I'm never gonna be like, oh well, you're an idiot. Like, why would you do that? Like, let people.
I have about 20% saying nothing, zero, no feel, and I'm like, well, I don't expect everyone to be. It's not caffeine,
right?
You know what I mean? Creatine, 50% notice it, 50% don't, and I'm not going to say to the 50% didn't notice it. Yeah, but like you should feel it.
Oh yeah,
I notice creatine. I notice everything though.
Wait, you notice creatine?
Absolutely.
See, I don't notice creatine.
I gained like 2 pounds in like very quickly.
Yeah.
But I notice everything. Like anytime I've taken anything, like if I would do 10 milligrams of Anavar, I was like, I can feel it.
Interesting.
And I would talk to girls on the same dose as me. I don't notice it working. I'm like, I notice it. Like, how do you not notice it? I'm like, am I just...
I will say this. I've had people who, they've done like their first low-dose cycle with me and stuff, and they're like, well, I don't necessarily feel it. I'm like, dude, you're 10 pounds heavier and leaner. I'm like,
they don't notice that.
I'm like, does it really matter if you notice it?
Yeah,
like,
I don't notice, I don't feel, I don't know what you're expecting to feel. But
yeah.
Like, yeah, even HRT, like when I was at 100 at first, and then the doctor put up to 120 and then 140, every 20 milligrams more, without question, very noticeable. Okay. And like recently, my doctor upped the dose to 200. So I said, I'll try 170, did it for a week, and I was like water intensive, bloated, and then the like it, and I dropped it back to 140. Because my test levels were pretty low, like 550 to like 750 type thing.
Right.
I was like, oh, I can go higher. I want it to be 1,000, and I just don't feel as good at that dose.
Interesting.
Like I'm more watery. I like being really lean.
Yeah.
And for bike riding, you have to type your weight in. And so the heavier you are, the slower you go. So do you just
find you're holding more sub-Q if you
yeah, it's like not good weight. It's like bloated. Like if you look at my old footage of me jacked up on gear,
right?
Sub 10% body fat, I look fat. Like I'm like wearing a shirt, my face is noticeably chubbier, and I look older than now.
And if you were to, so like when you get up to that 1,000 amount, if you like play around with your sodium, still doesn't get rid of it?
No, really? I would take like say Nolvadex or Arimidex, or balance it out with Mastrone or whatever, and I'd still have a moon puff face without any like, you know, like the water intensive orals like D-balls and Anadrols. Just like even a lower dose test with Mastrone EQ, no, puffy, bloated, but you see it. You look at IFBB pros on stage, a lot of them have that, it's like a different jaw look.
Yep. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. There was this random girl I stumbled across on Instagram, and I was honestly shocked because I saw her, and like the comment section was just horrible to her because she had a very masculinized face. But then I saw a random comment in the comment section that was like, hey, you should look at what she looked like 3 years ago. Yeah. And I scrolled to the bottom of her profile and saw what she looked. It was honestly absolutely insane. Like she had completely turned from the most feminine features I've ever seen to just straight up square jaw, masculinized. Yeah. I've never seen that drastic of a difference between somebody's overall looks just from taking gear. And I've
dated that.
Really?
I dated a girl, and I saw her at the bar, and I was like, oh, that girl was really hot, like a beer Budweiser girl. And then I seen her at the gym, and I'm like, man, I kind of think this girl's hot. So I asked her out, and she said, I have a boyfriend. And then 3 days later, she was done with him. We dated for 6 weeks. She cheated on me with some gay guy. This is a true story. Then she got addicted to like meth or some shit. Hardcore drugs. But during this time, she had taken 50 milligrams of Anavar for about 6 months, went from a bikini competitor to winning women's physique.
Yeah.
Like,
huge differences.
20 pounds of muscle and no real side effects. Like, I'm like, I can't believe you took that high of a dose with no side effects. So she thought she was invincible. So then came D-ball, testosterone, everything. Yeah. And then came the mustache and the deep voice and pimples bursting on the mats in the bar. Like, I'm not...
Oh, it's just an addiction at that point.
Oh, and then she got into OnlyFans, and I was like, this girl is like, went from being
I'm assuming you weren't with her through this whole thing.
6 weeks, and then there was a rumor that I was the one telling her to do all this gear and was given to her. I'm like, you guys, like I don't know, this is probably like 12 years or so ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she went from being like a good-looking 110-pound girl to... I watched her deadlift 425 for 6 reps from just being a normal bikini girl. Yeah. Like normal, no muscle, like just kind of cute to like insane, like with veins like this, like just.
Yeah, and I have liked seeing, because like over the especially over the last few years, you talking about like the negative side effects of gear and like the things that you've experienced and being like, look, like it's not healthy to do. Like I like the fact that even though you've gone through it and had like those, you don't glorify it the way a lot of people do.
Like, and people are like, I don't even know what the word. They're like, isn't it when you like did something but then you're saying not to do it?
Oh, hypocritical?
Yes. Aren't you a hypocrite? I'm like, yeah, but like if I was literally into the abuse of drugs and then I stopped, am I not like the perfect guy to speak against it?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They don't say the same thing about previous alcoholics being like, hey, don't take
like if
alcohol.
I was a meth addict and it ruined my life and I said, hey, you probably shouldn't do what I did, it was kind of dumb. But like you get caught up on it. Like I'm like winning every show and then I'm like, what am I gonna do now? And I'm like, if I take steroids, I'll like start winning some more shows. And then you keep going up. Then I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
I'm pro, I can't get any bigger. I've taken as many drugs as I can. And now what? And so I had to stop.
One of my main reasons for me not taking is because of the fact that I know my tendencies. And my tendencies, I get very obsessive about things.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know if I'm going to start on it, it'd be very hard for me to be say like, oh yeah, I'll just take like 200. It's just probably wouldn't happen.
Once you feel it, it's hard to go back. Like even me, like I think about the old times and it's like how easy it is to go back. Like I'll stand here and pose with Eric and I'm like, it would be fun to be like that again. And I'm like, but I can't. Or even like, geez, my girlfriend's like, oh, I like this. She sees me at 5% body fat, like a week out. She's like, oh, you're so hot here. I'm like, it's tempting to look like that again.
Right.
But I'm like, I can't do it. I just have to be like, no, you're going to be happy with this.
I mean, I was going to say, happy with this. Like, you're sitting at what, like 8% body fat?
8%.
Just like, no, I mean.
It's good enough. But
I get
when
it.
you know what you could do.
When you've been there before,
like when you see Eric and you're like, oh, yeah. You're like, but you just can't. It's just, it's too tempting. I was lucky. I was able to slowly transition. I went from bodybuilding to classic to bike racing. Yeah. So I had that kind of slow meltdown.
That's the thing I don't think people take into account enough is if you have something else that you're passionate about that you love doing, it makes it much simpler.
Oh yeah.
Like some of the people, it's like all they have is their physique.
Yeah.
And so once they come off, it's like, how do you mentally handle that when that is your life? That's all you care about. Yeah. If you don't have something else that you're actually passionate about, willing to develop and get better at over time, like I can see how that would mentally destroy somebody.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. I do pickleball now. I love it. I was a phys ed teacher for 11 years, so I'm like a sports guy. So as long as I have fun stuff to do, I'm happy. Yeah. And I like bike racing. I'm not like the best bike rider. Like my brother can beat me quite easily now, but it's still fun. Right. Yeah, I don't have to be the best. It's like Eric wants to be the best amateur, then turn pro, and then like, you know what I mean? Like whatever level you're at, you just do the best you can. Yeah. So if you're natty, you be the best natty you can. But then if you're on gear, all of a sudden the standard goes up. Yeah. So like if you went off of being a natty guy and went on gear, now it's like you're not being compared to natty guys. Exactly. You're being compared to Eric.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. That's what we were talking about earlier, where he said, are you considering it all as a... I'm like, if I was to take it, then I would just become one of a bunch. Yeah. It's like, because in the end, the only way I would ever even be somewhat competitive, which I wouldn't even be that competitive because my shape's not great. It's like the only way I'd even be somewhat competitive is to take insane amounts because I wouldn't be the type of person that could get away with just being a slimmer, like more sleek build because I don't have it. I know that. I look at my physique objectively. I see guys who are 40 pounds lighter than me, who have better shape than me, who would beat me on stage at 40 pounds lighter. I know what it would take for me to get to a somewhat high level, and it wouldn't be in classic. Yeah. It would not be in classic. It would be tough. Heavy open bodybuilders. It would be terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah.
I remember being 150 and being, if I was ever 160 shredded on stage, I would be so happy. I would never want more. Yep. That happened. It was 170. 170 happened. Now it's 180. And then I was in the 190s. So it's like, now I would need to be 212 because that's the weight limit. And I'm like, if I would have got that, it would have been, then what? Yeah, and honestly, I don't want the 212. I want it gone. Yeah. I want to see open class bodybuilding, and I want to see classic physique, and I want to see classic physique light, and I want to see men's physique but smaller. Yeah. That's what I would do if I were like in charge of men's bodybuilding. Right. Because look what they did with women. They have like a new category. Girls have what, six classes?
Oh, it's insane.
So
didn't they just add a new one too?
Yeah. For like what bikini was supposed to be when they instituted it like 10 plus years ago. Yeah. I'm actually a fan because it's a category where I know bikini pros and bikini girls who are on gear and don't want to admit it, who can now compete without using the gear. Right. I'm like, how is that a bad thing? Yeah. You know? People are like, yeah, but they don't have to work hard for it. They work the same hard. I don't work harder when I was natural versus enhanced, I pushed the same hard. My physique just has 20 more pounds of muscle, and I'm 1% leaner. That's the only difference.
Yep.
So I'm a fan. I like the fact that somebody could have a mission to get a pro card and be 100% natty.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
It's just tough because it's like, it always ends up being, they try to start it off a certain way, and then it's like, well, the bigger guy, the leaner guy does better, and then, oh, maybe we could increase the weight class a little bit.
Partly to blame the judges, some to blame the fans, they want the bigger.
Yeah.
But there's also a problem with judging is there's a head judge that, I don't know if do you know much about judging? Like,
Yeah.
So they have the head judge that lines everyone up, and the head judge's opinion influences the side judges so much, because if there's 5 guys and I put you here, where do you think all the judges are gonna put you, even if they have you in last?
Right.
So that front judge is biasing everyone, so wherever they put them, everyone kind of agrees with them. Like, I've been a judge where I had somebody in first who wasn't in the first call out, and it was bikini. I'm like, no, she should win.
Right.
You guys don't know what you're doing. Just because the head judge wasn't on the same page doesn't mean that person didn't deserve that shot.
Oh no, people can absolutely be swayed.
Especially when bikini first started. Or like men's physique. They were
But
putting
it's
guys
not
who were
as
too
defined.
big. I'm like, that guy's not too big. He should
Yeah.
win. No, putting him in last.
Yep.
So I have him in first, and you have him in last. Well, that's an interesting, decision. But
I always tell people this. I'm like, you have Instagram physiques and you have bodybuilding physiques.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the main difference between them is lats. I'm like, because when you're on Instagram, what pops out to you? The shoulders, the arms, the chest. When you're on a bodybuilding stage, every pose is trying to show off your lats as best as possible.
Yeah,
it's like
it's totally different.
And so if you don't have that, it's like, there's this one guy, I wasn't even trying to be mean. I just said, look, like, this guy will never have a shot at the Olympia. People were so angry at me, and it was like, how could you say that? Look at him, he's amazing, he looks better than this guy. I'm like, his lats are just not gonna be there. It's like, well, he can bring that up. I'm like, no, he's been around for 10 years. You think if he could bring up his lats, he wouldn't have done it by this point?
There's no magic pill.
It doesn't work.
Just like when I saw Sam win, and I'm like, a lot of people said it was close, and I'm like, I don't know what show you're looking at, because it wasn't close.
So I saw people immediately saying there was robbery, and like it was just because of his popularity. I'm like, maybe there's something I didn't see on the live stream that you guys saw, but...
And I wasn't there in person, but like, as soon as Sam hit the thigh and abdominal, and his thighs are literally double the size of the second guy, and he's the only guy with lats, and his waist is small still, I'm like, come on.
I don't think people have figured out how important quads are to Classic yet.
Yeah.
So I should say there are the people who are a little bit more casual watchers who they don't realize how much the quad sweep changes the entire overall look.
Yeah.
And so as long as the guy has some lines going through it, they don't care that the person has the watermelons.
Yeah.
You need
like,
it.
man, I was like, I don't know what you guys are watching, but thankfully you're not judging. Because
we're on the same page on that one, for sure.
I think it's not their fault. If you haven't watched enough shows, like, how would you get it?
Yeah.
Like, when people used to watch me win shows, they're like, how did you win? You were way smaller, because I would be a lightweight winning overalls against heavyweights.
Right.
I'm like, the flow, the balance, the shape, the this and that, and they would be like, he was way bigger than you. I'm like, yeah, but that's not how it works. But they would feel like I'm at 6% and they're at 9%.
Yeah.
I'm like, they automatically lose, but they wouldn't understand that.
Yeah.
It was just like, I just saw a big guy and he should have won. I'm like, all right, that's your opinion.
It's if you have somebody who's 5-6% body fat against somebody who's 8 or 9, and the judges give it to the person who's 8 or 9, I immediately think the judges made the wrong call.
Yeah, I don't. It's
even
like
if the guy even if the guy's
disqualified.
bigger, even if the guy, I'm like, it's just a terrible call.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
the same way.
The dieting component's that important.
Yeah, and I think I'm slightly biased in judging towards more conditioning because I was a conditioning guy.
Yeah.
So I respect the effort it took to get to that.
Right, and I am too. So
Yeah.
No, it's always been the case where like I've always known that my shape's not going to be as good as a lot of people like I'm against. So I'm like, what's the one thing I can control no matter what?
Yeah, like that's why I'm
Conditioning.
critical of Mike Israetel. I'm like, you could get shredded. You could show up under 6.2% if that's what you said you were. Show up at 4.2, and then you'll do so much better.
I think one of the things that people let themselves get away with so much is they're like, oh, water retention. I'm like, if you're lean enough, even if you're holding some water, you'll still look shredded.
Yeah, nobody holds 20 pounds of body water from bulking to 270 when they're natural, which is what Mike said.
Right.
I'm going to turn this into a Mike tag.
They're just saying, you can always be leaner.
Oh, you can always be leaner.
Look better.
You can always be thinner. Look better.
End video.